ceremony honored the 37 fallen troopers, officers, highway patrolmen, and one canine who have given their lives in service to the Commonwealth since the agency's inception. Earlier today, I was deeply honored to join law enforcement officers and their families in Richmond at the Kentucky Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation annual memorial service to honor the 7 law enforcement officers we lost in the line of duty just last year. Officer Hurley, Deputy Critchlow, Deputy Cash, Captain Frazier, Deputy Perry, Officer Chaffins, and Officer Medlock all made the ultimate sacrifice last year to put themselves between us and danger so that we could go home to our families, even though it meant that they couldn't go home to theirs. In Scripture, we are told there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. Loving their communities is exactly what these 7 officers did in their final moments. They loved their communities and their neighbors enough to get up every day, even knowing it could mean not coming home at the end of the day. We are deeply grateful for the sacrifices these officers made and the sacrifices their families continue to make each and every day. We promise to never forget them and to wrap our arms around these families and do what we do in Kentucky, to look out for one another. On Monday night, we also lost another brave hero, Deputy Caleb Conley of the Scott County Sheriff's Office. Before joining the Sheriff's Office, Deputy Conley served 8 years in the United States Army. He joined the Sheriff's Office in 2019, giving everything he had to work and to his community. Deputy Conley was a dedicated and a decorated hero. I was honored to award him the 2020 and 2022 Governor's Award for Impaired Driving Enforcement. He worked hard to protect our roadways from drunk drivers, making 63 impaired driving arrests in 2022 alone. In 2021, he received a Sheriff's Award for administering CPR to minors on 2 different occasions. In December of 2022, Deputy Conley was awarded the Scott County Sheriff's Office Deputy of the Year Award. As Scott County Sheriff Tony Hampton said, he was a go-getter and loved his job, and it's a shame that it got cut short because he loves his job so much and he was good at it. A native son of Cynthiana, Deputy Conley leaves behind his wife Rachel, 2 children, his parents, and a community that he loved and that loved him back. Deputy Conley is a hero, and all of Kentucky is praying for his family. In the coming days, we'll lower the state flag to honor Deputy Conley. We always do it on the day that they are laid to rest, and his name will be added to our officer memorial next year. We promise to be there for them and for their families today, tomorrow, next week, next month, and in the years and decades to come. There's no easy way to transition from remembering those we've lost to building the future for those that are to come. But today we have some really incredible economic development news about how our Commonwealth continues to move forward. We're kicking off today's economic report with amazing news. Site Selection Magazine, the leading economic development periodical, just released its annual Prosperity Cup rankings, and the Commonwealth's momentum is undeniable. Kentucky jumped to number 1 in the South Central region for 2023, moving up 2 spots, leapfrogging both Tennessee and Texas. The Commonwealth also ranked 5th overall in the 2023 rankings, 1 spot up from last year. Site Selection also recognized AESC, which everybody remembers under the name Envision, for the plant that they are building in Bowling Green as the 14th top deal in North America, based on their $2 billion investment, 2,000 jobs, where we're going to be making some of the world's best auto vehicle electric batteries in Bowling Green in a 3 million square foot gigafactory. I want to congratulate AESC, but also everybody who works in economic development all over Kentucky. I mean, think the Prosperity Cups rankings talks about us, talks about the future that we're building, the type of prosperity we can leave to the next generation and the next generation after that. And to be Kentucky, ranked number 5 in the entire country, to be ranked in our region above other states that people have talked about in the past, show the type of momentum that we have. In one way, we can honor those that are no longer with us. is to ensure that the world we build moving forward is better for every single person and every single family. While we're talking about really big deals, yesterday I had the honor of joining Ford Motor Company Executive Chair Bill Ford and Ford President and CEO Jim Farley, along with dozens of United Auto workers and employees, to celebrate the arrival of the 2023 F-Series Super Duty truck. This is an amazing new truck, and it's a very big deal for Kentucky. So it's just last September when we announced Ford was investing $700 million and adding 500 full-time jobs at its Kentucky truck plant, which already has thousands of workers. And now, 8 months later, this new truck is rolling off the line and headed to customers across the country. It was one of the largest investments in Jefferson County history, and it followed the record-shattering $5.8 billion investment that Ford and SK On made in Elizabethtown, the largest investment in our history, where we're building the largest battery plant on planet Earth, and we're building its twin right next to it. Ford is an iconic American company, and it and Kentucky have been building cars together since the Model T. The company currently employs more than 12,000 people here and supports over 120,000 indirect and direct jobs. It has a state gross domestic product contribution of $11.8 billion. I want to thank Bill Ford, Jim Farley, and everyone at Ford. We currently have an incredible relationship with this company. They bet their future on us, and we have that battery plant on schedule and will continue to. I also want to thank the more than 8,500 UAW workers who are assembling the new Super Duty truck at the Kentucky truck plant. Having a new model and a new vehicle like this provides security for years for people who are raising their family working at that plant. Ford wasn't the only company making news in the manufacturing sector this week. Halton, a leading manufacturer of commercial kitchen ventilation and air distribution centers, announced a $7.4 million expansion of the company's facility in Allen County, creating 60 full-time Kentucky jobs. This is just more momentum on what led us to be named number 3 in the country last year in what's called micropolitan economic development, which is a fancy way of saying rural job creation. So this project will see the company expand its current manufacturing operation in Scottsville by 50,000 square feet, bringing its total space to 91,000 square feet. The new space will allow room for a research and development lab, because that's what we're bringing to Kentucky these days. And it specifically is for its air-moving product line. The company will also add additional manufacturing space to allow for new product lines to support the overall growth of the business. The 60 full-time jobs created from this project will bring the total Kentucky employment to 240. And I want to thank Halton's leadership for their continued investment in Allen County, and we look forward to helping them grow even more. Today, we had a meeting of what we call the KEDFA board. That is the board that approves incentives for companies looking at Kentucky. And while we currently don't have specific releases out on companies, today we approved incentives for projects that would total $69 million of additional investment in Kentucky and create more than 500 new full-time jobs. The approvals included nutrition for longevity in Boyle County, $18.9 million investment, 287 jobs. Kentucky aluminum processors in Logan County, $26.5 million, 75 new jobs. Kelvin Corporation expansion in Jefferson County, $11.8 million, 30 new jobs. Kroger Fulfillment Network LLC in Boone County, $554,000 investment, 98 new jobs. And Sargent and Greenleaf expansion in Jessamine County, $1.25 million in investment, 19 new jobs, meaning if all these come to fruition, and lately all of them have, 509 new Kentucky jobs will have come out of that meeting today. In making sure that we can continue this momentum moving forward, we are excited about new announcements from our Kentucky Product Development Initiative. In many ways, this is about investing in each and every one of our communities to ensure they are ready to land that next generation changing investment. It's the idea that everyone should be able to have their Glendale, an area that we secured land, we worked on the roads. We provided infrastructure for a decade. And what resulted was the investment where we're building that biggest battery factory on planet Earth. So last month, we announced the second wave of approvals in the initial round, rolling out $4.6 million in funding for projects in Adair, Allen, Breckenridge, Johnson, Rowan, Russell, and Simpson counties, as well as regional projects in southeastern Kentucky. So today, the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority approved an additional 11 projects for $7 million. These are investments and bringing up sites to get ready for that next round of good jobs. These projects are in Barron, Fayette, Greene, Hickman, Jackson, Jessamine, LaRue, McCreary, Todd, Wayne, and Woodford counties. The Barron County Fiscal Court is the first one we'll talk about, in partnership with the Barron County Economic Authority, is extending water, sewer, and natural gas infrastructure, as well as grading 100 acres at the South Cooper Industrial Park. The Lexington Fayette Urban County Government, in partnership with the Lexington Fayette Urban County Industrial Authority, is completing improvements in Legacy Business Park. The Greene County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the Greene Economic Team, Inc. of Greensburg, Greene County, is seeking to construct a build-ready pad along with additional infrastructure improvements at the Greensburg Industrial Park. The Hickman County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the Hickman County Industrial Development Authority, is building an entryway to the Enterprise Park Clinton, in addition to water well and high-pressure pump work to attract new businesses to the community. The Jackson County Fiscal Court, in partnership with Jackson County McKee Industrial Development Authority, is seeking to increase the marketability of property within the Jackson County Regional Industrial Park by making it build-ready certified, along with other certifications. The Jessamine County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the Jessamine County Joint Economic Development Authority, is completing improvements to the Jeanette Industrial Park to attract new businesses to the community. The LaRue, it's a lot, but we got a whole lot going on. The LaRue County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the LaRue County Industrial Foundation, is seeking to acquire a property of approximately 69 acres for economic development. The project was identified by an independent site selection consultant as having a bright future and being a prime spot that we could locate a business. The McCreary County Fiscal Court, in partnership with its Industrial Development Authority, is finishing construction on a spec building. The Todd County Fiscal Court, in partnership with its Industrial Foundation, is making improvements to the vacant Robertson property in Todd County. The Wayne County Fiscal Court, in partnership with its Industrial Authority, is going to extend water and sewer service at the Monticello Wayne County Business Park. The Woodford County Fiscal Court, in partnership with the City of Versailles, is providing water and wastewater improvements to an industrial site to attract future business. So I have been asked in the past, when a business looks to locate, what is it that the governor and others do? The answer is a lot of work, a lot of industrial build out, finding the right site, ensuring it has the road, the rail, the port, if necessary, ensuring that the electric load can be provided and gets there, making sure we have the amount of water that would be necessary. So when we get good legislation, and we appreciate good legislation like this one, there is still a significant amount of work to do after that comes out, because you actually have to build the facilities. And that's something that the Commonwealth does in partnership with all of these great businesses. So today would not be possible, those announcements, without the Kentucky Association for Economic Development, the Atmos Energy, Big Rivers Electric, which we just announced their headquarters move, Duke Energy, Kentucky Power, LG&E, and KU, as well as TVA, Touchstone Energy Cooperatives, EKPC, and Louisville Water. So a big day. All right, today we also have some good news for Kentucky's ongoing mission to clean up our brownfields. Brownfields are industrial and commercial properties that are known or suspected to contain environmental contaminants. I'm pleased to announce that 10 Kentucky communities and agencies have been selected by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to receive $7.9 million in grant funding to assess and clean up the brownfields. What that lets us do is then develop them with companies that are unwilling to move to brownfields. Since 2007, our communities have received $25.6 million in brownfield funding. These funds have supported the creation of the Louisville Waterfront Botanical Garden and the Lynn Family Soccer Stadium in Louisville, to name a few. I look forward to the positive impact that this is going to have to take land that otherwise isn't going to be used and turn it into a new site for business, a new park, a new place that our families can get together. We have 3 of the 10 communities receiving funding here with us today. First, we have the city of Ashland, which is receiving $500,000 to support environmental cleanup and community outreach. With us today is Mayor Matt Perkins, Catherine Utzinger, the city planner, and Eden McKenzie, an economic development specialist. Would you all please come up and accept these funds? Why don't we move over here? Okay. Good to see you again.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Come on up. Whichever one you'd like to be. Grab a hold of the $500,000.
Yeah, right.
All right, Mayor, you want to say a word or two about the project?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, first off, let me thank our Community and Economic Development Department. Catherine Utzinger was critical in making this grant possible. I want to thank our friends with the Environmental Protection Cabinet. I also want to thank our governor. You know, he's helped clean up after tornadoes in Western Kentucky and in our neck of the woods, the ice storms and floods. But today, this grant will help us clean up brownfield sites that we can identify in our community. You know, when you think about opportunities, this is one of those that you just can't get. And for us to have this opportunity is huge. We're planting seeds of prosperity for our future here today. Our city has been through some tough times, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and we appreciate it so much.
All right.
Thank
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all. All right. Mayor Perkins also gets to be the mayor host for the Appalachian Regional Commission Conference coming up here soon. And when you hear about a couple things we're going to be doing during that conference, it's going to knock your socks off. Next, we have Louisville Metro Jefferson County Government, which is being awarded $1 million to support the issuance of smaller cleanup loans and grants for projects all over the region. Today, we have Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Pat Malloy, and I did not know you'd taken that job. That's a pretty big get. All right. Jeff O'Brien, Chief of Louisville Metro Economic Development, Tamara Sluss, and Michael King with the Office of Advanced Planning. If you please join us to accept this check. I'm good. Here's $1 million. All right. You want to say a few words?
I think so.
Yeah, I'll say something. If you don't mind.
Good.
Thanks, Governor. I'm Pat Malloy. I'm maybe the 7th day on the job. Craig Greenberg called me our new mayor in Louisville about a month ago and asked me to come aboard as in a new position as Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, which I'm glad to do. And I haven't stood in this room since I stood here with Governor Jones in the 90s working for him. You made an important point, and I want to just remind the public how valuable these dollars are. They're not just about environmental remediation. That matters. Lord knows we've got to clean up the planet. And Tamara runs our fund in Louisville, which is a little less than $4 million. So this $1 million is material. It raises it to almost $4 million. She's in charge of remediating the Brownfield funds in Jefferson County. While the governor's talking today, we're issuing in Louisville a press release, $1.4 million of that fund. So this $1 million will fund most of the cleanup of the lead-based paint and asbestos that's in the ground at Louisville Gardens, which is right next to City Hall, which we're in the process of redeveloping in Louisville to an arts, music, digital production studio in the heart of the city. So you get two things that happens here. You get environmental cleanup and you get real jobs being created in the heart of the city. So thank you. These dollars matter a lot, and we very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Appreciate
you. Take care, friend.
Yeah, good to see you. Finally, we have the Caldwell County Board of Education, which is receiving $500,000 to remove hazardous material from an annex building so it can be reconstructed as a space for community gathering. Today, we have one of our great superintendents, Jeremy Roach from Caldwell County Schools, to accept the check. Almost 500,000. Just we'll find the $100. All right. You got to brag on your school system.
I'll talk for just a second. So I'd like to thank, first off, I have to thank Tammy Sanders, my grant writer. She did an outstanding job putting in for this money. Thank you to all the stakeholders that were involved that contributed as well. We had a facility that's on our campus that was built in the 60s, and this money is going to allow us to abate the hazardous materials in it and get rid of that facility. The campus that it takes up is also our board office, was the original high school that was built in the early 1900s. And it's really the hub of our community, and this will allow us to expand that space, and increase usage from our students that live downtown, and they won't have to go to other areas. So it's a hazardous building. It's fantastic that we're able to make a safer place for our community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent. And as always, you have my pledge to continuing to increase funding for education, especially raises for our educators. Remember, in most of our counties, our boards of education, our school systems are the largest employer. And so when we fail to pay our teachers that living wage, we not only shortchange our kids, we impoverish our own communities. So certainly that's something we're going to be pushing really hard for in this coming session. Today, we have some more good news on the state's efforts to combat illicit drugs across the Commonwealth, thanks to some incredible work from our law enforcement officers. On Sunday, during a traffic stop, Kentucky State Police troopers of Post 11 made a bust in Laurel County, and a large amount of meth and heroin were seized, along with drug paraphernalia. Trooper Trey Lovins was able to obtain a search warrant and was assisted on the scene by Trooper Blake Pennington, Trooper Logan Mallory, Trooper Ben Allen, Trooper Brian Maupin, and K-9 Gunner, as well as members of the London Police Department and Laurel County Sheriff's Office, many of which I saw just earlier today. This comes after several important steps in moving forward in our fight against drugs here in Kentucky. 2 weeks ago, I announced that the Kentucky Counter-Drug Program had seized 142 pounds of fentanyl in just the last 7 months, which is enough to kill 28.9 million people. Just last month, the Kentucky Counter-Drug Program supported the disposal of 14,500 pounds of unneeded medication on Drug Take-Back Day. Remember, so much addiction starts in your medicine cabinet. And simply by disposing, especially of leftover opioids, but you should dispose of all of it regularly and routinely, you can prevent addiction here in Kentucky. Oftentimes, it leads to addiction within a family, so you're better protecting your kids and grandkids. In March, we announced that Kentucky was leading the way in providing treatment services to Kentuckians through the Treatment Access Program. And last week, we got to announce our first recovery-ready community. In the past 3 years, we've now increased treatment beds by over 50%, and we've provided troops, National Guardsmen and women, along the border under both of our last presidents, hundreds of them serving our country. With all that work and the hard work of a lot of people in the treatment area, we saw our first decline in overdoses last year. And we learned through a national article this week that we're one of only a few states that have had a decline. A recent article from the Associated Press noted that Kentucky is one of only 8 states that saw what they called a sizable overdose death decrease last year. And that's when the nation as a whole saw an increase. Listen, this is the work of thousands of Kentuckians that have dedicated themselves and their lives to preventing people from coming into contact with drugs, to help them with treatment when they are addicted, to support people in recovery. This is the work of so many individuals out there. And today, I want to thank Kentucky State Police Post 11 for their impressive work on this case. James, are we still good? Okay. All right, very quickly, I want to update people on the gas tax, which, because of a failure in the General Assembly to act on one of my executive orders, is going to be increasing. So last year, about this time, June 2nd, 2022, I took action through an emergency regulation to prevent the Kentucky state gas tax from increasing. Under Kentucky statute, there is a trigger when the average wholesale price of gas goes to a certain point. The gas tax increases too. Well, this law was never meant to hurt Kentuckians in the way that it currently is, making gas more expensive at times that it's already too expensive. The trigger that I paused would have increased prices by at least 2 cents at times of record high. When I froze the gas tax, it was estimated that we saved Kentuckians $35.4 million. Even better, it had no material impact on our transportation budget. We did more in roads and bridges than ever before. I took this action to put our families first, knowing that these are tough times with inflation, and knowing for most people, gas is something they have to pay for, that there is no other option to get to work. So last year, I approached the General Assembly and asked them to make it permanent, because when the General Assembly comes in, an executive order like this expires and they have to take action. And I was thankful that House Minority Floor Leader Derek Graham filed a bill which included language that would continue the freeze. After it was filed, I wrote letters to leadership of both the House and the Senate asking them to do the right thing for our families. I let them know that if they'd extend the freeze, families would save another $40.4 million in the next 5 months and $124.2 million in that fiscal year. And I asked that we use record collections from the general fund, biggest budget surpluses ever, to fill back in that road plan and the transportation budget so we would continue to spend every dollar we needed on infrastructure. This was the time, with the healthiest budget that we had seen, where we could help our families make sure gas didn't go up and still do everything each of our communities needed in infrastructure. Sadly, they did not agree. And this will be the second gas increase since they failed to ask. As a result, on July 1, Kentuckians' gas tax rate will increase another 2.1 cents. My promise to each and every family out there is I will continue to work for them to lower their costs, understanding that inflation shouldn't be political, isn't Democrat or Republican, isn't red or blue. It just materially hits and hurts our families, and it should be all of our goal to find those ways, especially when state government is doing fine, to pass that along to our families. And remember, this was one of the main reasons that I signed that income tax reduction, helping most families across the Commonwealth hopefully afford gas and other needs. But in some good news, that hopefully means we can provide more relief this next session and ensures that we can provide services even with that tax cut. I was told this week by our state budget director and my executive cabinet secretary, John Hicks, that we are on track to meet the updated general fund revenue for fiscal year 2023, meaning we will have a budget surplus of about $1.5 billion, the third straight year we've had that size budget surplus or above $1 billion. It will be at least one of our top 4 budget surpluses in our history. So, again, my hope is in this session we can make sure that Kentuckians are able to meet their everyday needs, especially when the state has the ability to do it. And record-setting budget surpluses means that we can pay some of our hardest working folks out there, like our educators, like our social workers, where we've already provided some real significant raises closer to what they deserve. All right, next, we have a lot of incredible people that are here today to remember and recognize some other really special people. Today, I want to celebrate some of the advocates who are working to find a cure for childhood brain cancer, something no child should have to go through. The diagnosis sends families on a physical, emotional, and financial roller coaster. And worst of all, we're losing some of our kids to cancer before they have the chance to grow up. Sometimes before they have the chance to live the 13 and 12 years that my kids have been on planet Earth. As governor, I will not sit back and not do everything that I can to ensure that we are doing everything to prevent children from contracting cancer and helping those that hear that diagnosis. We are determined to make Kentucky a national leader in the fight against childhood cancer by raising awareness and funds for research. 2 years ago, we worked with our other state leaders to secure an additional $2.5 million for the Kentucky Pediatric Cancer Research Trust Fund. Last year, we did even more. The state budget allocated a record $6.25 million in each fiscal year to the trust fund. Along the way, we've improved healthcare overall, relaunching Connect, expanding and protecting Medicaid. We've expanded healthcare services across the state. Our kids deserve the best healthcare because healthcare is a basic human right, and they're the most special humans that we have. No family should ever have to hear that there are no more treatment options for their child. And no family should have to choose between paying for medicine and putting food on the table. The advocates with us today are helping to find a cure and helping to make this horrible diagnosis a little easier for other families that have to face them. I've gathered with them in this room so many times and seen families that have gone through the unimaginable, providing comfort and relief to those dealing with the diagnosis, that are willing to resurface the trauma even of the loss of a child, to help that next person. That's why we honored them as our Team Kentucky All-Stars in March, and why we're honoring them today with 3 separate proclamations. First, this month we recognize May 17th as DIPG Awareness Day. This is a particularly aggressive form of brain cancer that took the lives of David Turner Jr., of Candace Metton, and Colton Ritchie. Their families are here with us today. We're going to see them in just a second. Second, as you all remember, David Turner Jr. was an amazing advocate himself who came to the state capitol multiple times during his battle with cancer. He cared about making a difference on 2 major issues. One was finding a cure for brain cancer and making sure other kids like him had health care. And the other issue he cared about was making sure all kids had access to ice cream. He came to my office. We pushed him up to the governor's table. I said, you're governor for about the next 15 seconds. What do you want to do? He declared National Ice Cream Day. And while I can't declare National Ice Cream Day, what we do is on May 21st each year, and as we're recognizing today, I sign a proclamation recognizing David Turner Jr. Ice Cream Day in the Commonwealth. To honor David Jr. and so many other kids, I'm also signing a proclamation recognizing May as Brain Tumor Awareness Month. So we've got Liz Turner, we've got Tess Metton and the Ritchie family, and brain cancer survivor Anna Maria Beck. Please join me for the signings and accept these proclamations. Y'all are heroes. We love you. We love those that you've lost, and we're going to work with you to make sure nobody else has to go through that. Come on up. All right. So first, let's present David Turner Jr. Ice Cream Day in the Commonwealth. I miss David. I know you do too.
Very much. I remember he told you his favorite flavor was strawberry.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And DIPG Awareness Day, which you will accept. And now let's sign for everybody. All right, you look up. All right, and here we go. Thank you for your strength
So much. Appreciate it. Thank you
and
so
being
much.
hope
Absolutely.
so
Thank you,
many.
sir. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Be careful. Anything you sign with that becomes a law.
That's very important.
Very welcome. And if anybody would like to say a word, feel free.
Sure, yeah.
Podium's yours.
I was just going to say how much the funding means to pediatric cancer patients, because the new drug that I received put me into remission, and I've been in remission like 5 years now. So this research really does help kids. It really does. And I hope to put more kids in remission with more funding. And it's awesome what Governor Beshear does. It's great. Thank you, sir.
you.
Thank you
Oh
so
my
much.
goodness.
Thank you.
Let's-
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are so honored that we have a wonderful state that supports childhood cancer research, a wonderful governor who advocates along with our children. My son made many visits to Frankfurt to advocate for himself and for others. I just wanted to share we had the first ever pediatric cancer conference in Kentucky last weekend. It was very well received. Researchers gathered together to share research. We're conducting novel research within the state of Kentucky, working with institutions outside of the state as well, to advance the care of our children, to directly impact the care of our children within the state of Kentucky. And the research being conducted also includes psychosocial. So we are leading the nation when it comes to childhood cancer research. We are recognized as one of the leading states when it comes to this effort with our intention to fund research. So I want to thank everybody and the governor for always making it a priority to support our children in childhood cancer research.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. All right, a quick update on Eastern and Western Kentucky rebuilding. To date, the Commonwealth Sheltering Program in Eastern Kentucky has 106 households that remain in 109 travel trailers. That means we've transitioned 5 additional families to more secure, longer-term housing. We have 105 travel trailers that are occupied at commercial locations and 8 on private locations. 276 households have now transitioned out. That's the best number on that screen, because those families have secured better and longer term housing. Still have 4 people sheltering in 1 hotel and 14 people in state parks. FEMA assistance has approved now more than $105.6 million in individual assistance grants. That's up $185,000 from the last update. 3 additional applicants have received the maximum grant of $37,900, and that means max grants have now been provided to 721 families for $27.3 million. Continue to pursue your claim. You can contact FEMA directly or go to one of our MARC centers. An update for houses of worship for the severe weather, February 15th through the 20th. We have so many weather events that we've got to be really careful when we describe what is open for who, for which weather event. So in regard to our 2 recent declarations for severe weather, houses of worship that provide services like senior outreach and childcare may be eligible to apply for FEMA's public assistance. If your house of worship was impacted during the February 15th through the 20th weather event and is located within one of the 22 declared counties, you can apply by the June 8th deadline. If your house of worship was impacted during the March 3rd through 4th storm, excuse me, and is in one of the 12 counties that were added to the declaration, you must apply by June 18th. So an update that opens up funding for our houses of worship, definitely a good update. Okay, finally, our Team Kentucky All-Star. I want to recognize a very special student at Augusta Independent School in Bracken County, Erica Kegley. Erica's 18 years old and is a very talented artist. She was recently chosen as the Kentucky winner for the Doodle for Google contest. This is a national contest hosted by Google that gives K through 12 students the opportunity to create a drawing that could be featured on the Google homepage. Erica's art titled Mother and Daughter Relationships was inspired by a relationship with her own mother and depicts mother-daughter relationships throughout cultures and through animals and humans. The national winner is chosen based on public votes. So let's show Erica our support by voting for her at the Doodle for Google in the 10 to 12 category. If Erica won, which means if we vote more than anybody else out there, voting's a good thing, she would receive a $30,000 scholarship to help her attend Northern Kentucky University to study pre-art therapy this fall. And our school district, Augusta Independent, would receive $50,000 as well. A Kentucky student, Milo Golding, actually won the entire competition in 2021. Incredibly talented young man. He's also so much taller than I am. And we are proud to see Erica carrying on this tradition. And today we're excited to celebrate Erica and her talents by naming her as our Team Kentucky All-Star. I hope everyone that's listening or gets to see this will support Erica and Augusta Independent by casting their vote by 9 p.m. today for the national competition. All right, with that, we will open it up for questions. We've got on my list starting with Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. And good afternoon to you.
Thank you.
There you go. They got the important stuff now.
Thank you.
So, there's been a lot of chatter from Republicans that you're failing to name board members to the Kentucky State Board of Education. That should be Republican nominations, I guess you would call them. Is that true? And when do you, if so, when do you plan to make those nominations?
So I'm grateful to the service of all the members of the Kentucky Board of Education. Under the Constitution, all members serve on the board until they are replaced. Now, I know where this is coming from, and as governor, I don't answer to either political party. I answer to the people of Kentucky, and appointments to the Kentucky Board of Education are not and will never be political. In fact, the law used to say that you couldn't look at someone's party. All you had to look at were their qualifications. When that was changed by the legislature, we have followed that law. I have, and I do appoint members to the board that are both Republicans and Democrats. I've appointed or reappointed Republicans in each of the last 2 years, and the outstanding vacancies are one of each. Both do not have to be Republicans. So suggesting that that is the driving force behind it is absolutely and totally wrong. We'll be looking for qualified individuals. I even have, I think, an interview in this next week for someone that has been highly recommended. I just want to make sure I get it right. You know, you got to have the right person at a time when public education is under attack each and every day, when people for political gain are claiming our teachers throughout the Commonwealth are doing crazy or wrong things in their classroom when it's not happening. I thought after the last governor, you know, we'd stop the silliness and no one would attack our teachers ever again. But some of the things being said about them right now are worse than even the last governor. We got to make sure that we have people on that board that are willing to do the right thing, even when it's hard, because supporting our educators when they've become a political target is absolutely critical. Olivia.
I just want to follow up on that question. Traditionally it's only taken you a few months to fill roles like that. Why did it take the year?
Well, not all board positions continue to serve even after a term is up. You know, some of them fall under this constitutional provision whereby there is not the same pressure to make a reappointment. We want to make sure that we get this right, and I think people will see us at least fill one of these positions in the short term. Karen.
Hi, Governor. Thank you. Governor, especially right around the start of COVID, mental health has been in the forefront, in particular for first responders recently with so many tragedies.
Yeah.
You recently said, and I'm so sorry for your loss, your friend in Louisville, you openly said, I'm not okay. There's still such a stigma, especially with first responders, of coming forward and asking for help. Are we doing enough? What more would you like to see be done?
You're right. And in the mental health field, there is so much need and still stigma that prevents some people from getting the help they need. You know, the phrase that I try to use is it's okay to not be okay. I stood with 7 families today that lost fathers, brothers, sons last year, and our bodies and our minds are not equipped to handle a loss of someone that we love so closely. Thankfully, we have professionals that dedicate their lives to helping us get through our darkest and most difficult times, and we want to make sure that people feel comfortable reaching out and getting help. It's one of the reasons that we expanded telehealth in new and important ways, because if it's pulling up in front of the office that's keeping you from doing it, listen, just schedule that telehealth appointment. That's why we went ahead with the 988 hotline, because if you are in crisis, you need to talk to someone who is trained on a mental health crisis as opposed to a physical health crisis. And then we need to continue to try to provide the financial support. We now have, under Kentucky law, a mandate that mental health is treated as physical health. But when you look at the utilization, that's how many services that people come in for and how much is reimbursed, it still lags significantly behind physical health. So we've got to continue to put out the word. We got to continue to lift up our mental health workers, but we also have to continue to talk about how PTSD is very real. And it manifests in so many different ways. It's not something that's just seen on the battlefield. It happens in our communities. It happens when you lose close friends. It happens when you lose family members. And just encouraging people, if you need to reach out, do. There are people out there that love you, that care about you. They can support you in your everyday life, but there's also trained professionals that can help. All right, we have one journalist on the line, Melissa Patrick.
Hi, Governor. So earlier this month, the Regulation Review Subcommittee found your new regulation to expand vision, dental, and hearing to Medicaid deficient. It's the second time they've done this to a different reg, of course. What can you comment on this finding and tell me what this means for Kentuckians? Have these, because it's found deficient, are these expanded benefits gone, or what's it mean?
They're still in place, at least until the next legislative session. I'll start at the beginning. Right now we have more jobs, new jobs than ever before in Kentucky. We're sitting at 46,000 more jobs than before the pandemic. Talk about not just bouncing back, but marching forward. To fill these jobs, we need people to be healthy. And that's everything from research and treatments we were talking about right here, but also ensuring that we are meeting very basic needs that if we can provide, we can get people back into the workforce. If we want somebody to go to work, they need to be able to see well enough to drive to work. Let's get them a pair of glasses. If that's the barrier, think about what a small cost that is to get somebody into a stable job that not only provides dignity for them, it provides security for their family and opportunity for the next generation with the types of jobs out there right now, a better chance to address even intergenerational poverty than we have ever seen before. If we want people to be safe on the work site, let's get them a hearing aid so that they can hear instructions or warnings or concerns. So we expanded Medicaid with the approval of CMS, that's National Medicaid, to provide these services. And then the General Assembly basically passed a law finding they were deficient, but not foreclosing the future. So we went back, we listened to all the criticisms in the previous review committee. We made all of the changes that appeared to have been requested about what is in it, and they still disapproved it. But since we are in the middle of a legislative session, we are allowed to continue to override that and provide those services. This isn't a big cost, folks. And this is about helping people with very basic needs that I think fall within human dignity. Being able to see, being able to hear, being able to get the dental appointment, because we lose millions of productive hours at work due to emergency dental procedures that could otherwise be prevented. So this is a no-brainer when you look at the low cost versus number of people we can get back into the workforce. And if that committee wants to not make this a partisan thing, just look at the number of people that have already gotten help. Look at where they are across the Commonwealth. There are people in both our urban and our rural areas. It's just helping our citizens with very small things that most of us take for granted. All right, I want to thank everybody who has sat through a very long Team Kentucky update today. I want to thank these families for their bravery, for their willingness to continue to not only remember and honor their lost ones, but to be there for other people. That's truly serving in the hands and feet of God. It's of Christ. It's really special what you all do. And to all of our communities that are here today, moving your areas forward, cleaning up brownfields, we are really excited to continue to build that better life in every area of Kentucky. Thank you all very much.